The biggest winners of the NFL draft has been discussed beyond measure, and it's usually teams that won the draft, and understandably so. It's fun to project how good teams will be with the addition of high-level rookies, and to project how this team or that team will do with that player, and how the acquisition will improve them for 2022 and years from now as well. But in today's video, while we are discussing some draft day winners, we are going to be discussing individual players that benefited greatly from the 2022 NFL Draft, and to be clear, it's not 2022 NFL Draft prospects, it's players already in the league, and there is a lot to dive into, so without further ado, let's begin. And while everyone, and myself included within this, as I'm certainly not exempt, but while everyone has been saying the Ravens are big winners of the 2022 NFL Draft, one player specifically is a huge winner out of all of this, and that's now second-year player Odafe Oweh. Odafe had a solid rookie year as he had 5 sacks and 15 quarterback hits during his rookie campaign, but only started 2 games, and like a lot of other Ravens unfortunately in 2021, well, he didn't play in every single game. However, with the David Ojabo selection and the Kyle Hamilton pick, more so the Ojabo pick, the Ravens not only improved their team significantly, but will also have their second-year player in Oweh in a much better situation than he was in his rookie year. The Ravens secondary will buy the pass rush some time, and with Oweh and eventually David Ojabo coming off the edge, it will work hand in hand. And 5 sacks in a rookie season and 15 quarterback hits to go along with that is already solid for a player who was viewed largely as a project when he came out of the University of Penn State just a year ago. And while sacks aren't everything, I do expect Odafe to put up some lofty numbers either in 2022 or 23 at the latest for multiple reasons. The first and foremost is, of course, him bettering himself as a player, and another would be playing in a more pass-happy NFL, therefore giving him more opportunities to get after the quarterback. And before the injury, Ojabo was consistently a top 15 pick, really at the lowest, and the Ravens snagged him at 45. And if there are any injury concerns regarding David Ojabo and his ability to play coming off of the Achilles, my take on that is the Ravens more than did their homework on this and felt very comfortable taking him at 45. Odafe and David will both benefit playing opposite of each other, and while we may not see a whole lot of that in 2022, the future is very bright for this duo, and Odafe Oweh came out of the draft as a big winner. And next up, for a couple of reasons, but it's Lions quarterback Jared Goff. Now, we've all got our jokes in about Jared Goofy, and I'm sure we all, or most of us, thought at some point the Lions would take a quarterback in the draft, but as we saw, they never did. And not only does Goff come out of the draft victorious due to that, but they drafted Jameson Williams, who should be a very productive player for the next 6 to 8 years, really at minimum, and the Lions are giving Goff an actual supporting cast for 2022. And heading into last year, it shouldn't have really come as a surprise that a quarterback throwing to Khalif Raymond, a rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Quintez Cephas, A, wouldn't be lighting the stat sheet up week after week, and B, wouldn't win a lot of ball games. And for clarity, the Amon-Ra St. Brown part is referring to him at the beginning of the season as a 4th round rookie. He wasn't very productive early on, and kind of understandably so. But this offseason, the Lions signed DJ Chark to a 1-year deal and drafted a very good receiver in the 1st round, and while I don't expect Goff to throw for 35 or 40 touchdowns and have the Lions compete for an NFC Championship game, he can realistically lead them to an 8 to 9 win year and compete for a wild card spot. And Jared himself can play well enough with this supporting cast to extend his career and his opportunity to make a lot of money. Now, we know Jared Goff isn't a Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes quarterback, and that's fine, but Goff most of the time doesn't lose his team's games, and this is without a doubt one of the better supporting casts in the NFC. Of course, not saying the best, but when comparing it to the division, it's better than what the 4-time league MVP Aaron Rodgers has, and it's also better than whatever the Bears have going on in Chicago. There's honestly a possibility the Lions finish second in the North this year and head into 2023 with Jared Goff as their guy or draft a project-style quarterback next year. Regardless, for Jared to come out of the 2022 draft with Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral or anybody not being his teammate, and along with that would come significantly increased pressure, he came out with a number 1 receiver and another year to be the Lions' starting quarterback. And with how the entire offseason, not just the draft, has went for the Jets, we had to bring him up at some point, but it is Zach Wilson. This line is accurate for the Jets and Dolphins and a few other teams as well, but how well the quarterback plays in 2022 will determine how far their team goes, and the Jets, unlike with Sam Darnold, have done everything right with Zach Wilson, and this draft was another good example of that. Every, not just rookie, but young quarterback loves a good tight end to throw to, because in a lot of ways, it's like throwing into a mattress. It's a big, reliable target, and this has obviously changed in the past 10 years, but most of the time the average depth of target for a tight end is not very far down the field, and given they're usually sure-handed and, of course, bigger than the defender guarding them, it's usually a very QB-friendly throw to make. And the Jets tight ends in Zach Wilson's rookie season were none other than Ryan Griffin, Tyler Kroft, and Trayvon Wesco, and simply put, that's bad. And if you think you can find a tight end room just as bad, if not worse, in the past 4 or 5 years, please share, because that is downright pitiful. But the Jets addressed the tight end room at the draft by adding Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State, who could develop into a long-term starting tight end, but I do believe at minimum he is going to be a good tight end too. From a receiving standpoint, they also added Garrett Wilson, and when you throw on Wilson's tape, it's hard to think he won't be a successful NFL receiver because of what he does best, and that's get open and create separation. Guys who get open tend to be good, and having a quarterback who's young, along with a receiver who's young, should create a very good QB receiver combo for some time. And while I do like Jets second-year receiver Elijah Moore, I don't believe at his peak he will be as good as Garrett Wilson will be, and that's not disrespect to Moore as much as it is praise to Wilson. But the Jets also drafted a very good running back, and who I thought was the best running back in the draft, in Breece Hall from Iowa State, and what we said about Elijah compared to Wilson applies with Michael Carter to Breece Hall. The Jets in 2022 can beat you in a lot of ways offensively, whether that's pound the rock with Breece Hall and Michael Carter and wear you down behind Elijah Vera Tucker and Mekhi Becton, or they can beat you with Zach Wilson and his array of weapons, and that also includes players we didn't mention, which includes CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin, and Corey Davis. The Jets are a lot of things, and offseason winners is usually not one of them, nor is their starting quarterback, but I truly believe this is the start of something new in the Big Apple. And GM Joe Douglas has more than done his job, and he has helped Zach Wilson in ways Justin Fields can only dream of. And now it's time for Wilson to prove his worth. And Zach is without a doubt a big winner from the 2022 NFL Draft. Next up is Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals, as crazy as that may sound, but bear with me here. Kyler can be quite the controversial subject, depending on who you ask, but Kyler is a player who, at times, has played at MVP levels, and at other times played at an average or below average level. But Kyler comes out a big winner due in some part to the Marquise Brown trade. They obviously have a very good chemistry from their time at the University of Oklahoma, in which Kyler won a Heisman Trophy, and during the 2018 season in which they played together, Marquise had over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. And while I don't think Hollywood would ever get confused with a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase type player, he, to me, at least has always been underrated because he plays, or now played, in an offense in Baltimore where he was always going to be underutilized with how much they run the football. And he was on pace for a big year in 2021 before Lamar Jackson got injured, yet Hollywood had his first of, and I'll say it, his first of multiple 1,000-yard years in a not good situation. That's for Marquise, that is. And the Cardinals were picking at 23 in the first round, and I ask this question: do they get a player of Hollywood's caliber right now at pick 23 if they stay there? No. And Kyler will start the 2022 season with Hollywood and Zach Ertz and eventually get DeAndre Hopkins back. The Cardinals have done a good job in getting Kyler weapons, and it also includes the second-round tight end Trey McBride. the heir to Zach Ertz. And for clarity purposes, I realize the Cardinals will have to pay Marquise a lot of money, but that's more from a franchise standpoint, where I'm saying Kyler specifically is a winner because of the weapons he now has. Also, shout out Rondale Moore. I haven't mentioned him, but he's still a very good player for what he is. But with what Cliff Kingsbury emphasizes as an offense, which is very clearly speed, defenses have to game plan around that, and you can't just say, oh, well, we're also fast. We have a couple 4-4 guys, and they're going to have a Big 12-like approach in 2022, Arizona that is. And with how college schemes and concepts have trickled into the NFL over the past really decade, I can't wait to see the impact that Cliff Kingsbury has from an X's and O's standpoint in 2022 and beyond. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. The Discord is in the bio. I highly recommend joining. We talk all sorts of football in there, and it's a great time. And anyways, until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.